Okay, we are going to get this exported now. So I'm going to start with the Pitchfork low. I'm going to turn off every other collection, select our two objects, go to File, Export, Export FBX, and I want to make sure I check selected objects and apply transform. And I want to make sure under geometry that apply modifiers is checked. And as long as all those are good, the defaults should be fine otherwise. And I'm going to name it Pitchfork underscore low. But again, this doesn't really matter as far as like Substance Painter is concerned. You could name it anything. I just like to name it that because it helps me know what it is. So now that that's done, I'm going to deselect the Pitchfork low, enable Pitchfork high, select both objects. Again, make sure selected objects, apply transform, and under geometry, apply modifiers are all checked. Then I'm going to export it as Pitchfork high. And then I'm going to come into Substance Painter, which I've already done some messing around in, clearly. But I'm just going to delete those textures for now. And I'm going to bring up, well, first I have to go and navigate to the FBX, I suppose. I've buried it in a rather deep file structure. Everything's very orderly, but it does take a while to drill through it all. And just gonna drag and drop that here onto the Substance Painter scene view. And I'm going to, the project settings I have are UE4. Though maybe I should just come here and create a new. You see, I've got Unreal Engine 4 as my template. I set the document resolution to 4K. And other than that, all the settings are default. But I already went and made a project for testing purposes. I'm just going to re-import this mesh here and wait for it to finish. And here we go. Here is our Pitchfork. And that doesn't look right. I don't know about you, but that doesn't look right. Why would you do that to me? Mesh? What's wrong? It looks fine. Here. Let's see, what if I pull? Well, okay. Maybe that'll go away once I bake. So I'm going to go to Texture Set Settings. I'm going to click Bake Mesh Maps. I'm going to make sure the output size is 4K as well. And you just need to hit this File button here and then navigate to wherever you put your high-res mesh. Should bring this up. brings this me right here, and you want to select the high poly version. And you want to come down, scroll here to match, and set it to match by mesh name. It's usually set to always by default, but we want to match by mesh name. And then we want to go to our ID map and set the color source to material color. And that should be it. That should be everything we need to do there. So now I'm going to hit bake. And I'm going to see if that little artifact goes away. I can't really see it as it's baking these maps. So that, I mean, it showed up for a little there. I'm wondering if that's just a remnant of the old texture, really. But I don't know. I could have to scrap this whole operation and start over. Nope, looks like we're all good. That was totally just some weird error from the remnants of the old map bakes. Okay. So now I'm going to come here into layers. Because we got our mesh, we've got our maps, they're all baked now. And what I want to do is create two folders. In the first folder I will call handle, and this one will be fork. And I want to right click on the folder, and I want to add a mask with color selection. And now you see it's got this color selection. If you come down here and click pick color, it'll show you your color ID maps. And so this is handle, so I want to put the eyedropper onto the green. And then repeat that for fork, so right click, add a mask with color selection, pick color, and red. And what this will do is it'll let us sort any materials we put on here into these folders, and they'll only apply those materials to the sections we selected with the color ID mask. So this is really the whole reason we did all that stuff with the materials and the high and low poly versions, even though there isn't really a poly difference. We're really just using the high poly to create this color map here. But with that color map, we can come here into the toolbar. And if I search for wood, and I'm going to go with wood rough, drag that onto my handle. And you can see it's kind of like the wood grain's going like sideways, except down here. Down here it's going that way. And you can see where it changes, these are our UV seams. And you can see right here, that's our seam going down the whole length of the cylinder. So what we want to do now to try to hide that is click on our wood rough material and come over to the fill settings and projection. And we want to change the projection from UV to tri-planar. And I mean, I'm sure you can tell those seams are pretty hard to see now. They're there, but you can't really tell anymore. Because what the tri-planar projection does is it projects the texture the material Substance is using from basically this box. It just like shoots rays at it and tries to paint this wooden material onto it. Whereas UV projection, it similarly, it tries to paint it onto the UV map. And if we switch to 2D and 3D view, you can sort of see our UV map here. And this matches, or it should match what we have inside of Blender. If we were to select everything and go into edit mode, you see this UV map here is what we have inside of Substance. This is our handle, and these little edges where things weren't lining up, yeah, it's because Substance just kind of took a big brush and went over this 2D map. But triplanar, Substance tries to paint it on in 3D space. So it doesn't matter if there's a seam there, because it'll paint it there and there. Which, in the 2D mode, you probably have like one side's here, and then the other side of the seam is all the way over here. And so if you just paint over it, it's not going to match. And so this is basically kind of the magic of 3D projection painting. And one of the really wonderful and easy tools Substance has. I think the only thing I want to do now is rotate this 90 degrees so the wood grain's going up, and maybe change the scale to something like 2. Yeah, the higher the scale number, the smaller essentially the details and the texture gets. Like if I try to set this to 50, you can see it's kind of tiling constantly. It's very small, very fine, but it's repeating constantly, so it doesn't look good. I mean, it just looks kind of weird since it's repeating so much. But I think a scale of 2 right now looks pretty okay, at least for our base layer. And let's go ahead and get a base layer of something on our fork. So I'm going to scroll down, and I think I'm going to use steel rough, and I'm just going to drag that onto the fork. I'll switch back to 3D only view, and you can see similarly with our fork, those seams are pretty obvious. But since the fork is somewhat reflective, I think you're going to see the seams will likely still be somewhat visible. Even if I do come down here and turn on triplanar, if I get close, I can still tell there's a seam there. That's because essentially the lighting data, like the way the render engine is going to light this, is not going to work with that seam. That seam is basically confusing the renderer and the light rays and creating that weird effect there. It's harder to tell though at a distance. Like you come out to here and you don't see it anymore. But if I turn on UV again, there it is. There it is. Because the color doesn't match. At least with triplanar, it almost matches perfectly. And if this was a rougher material, so there was less light reflecting off it, that would be much harder to notice. Alright, but this is fine, but I kind of want to add some grime to this. These textures are pretty simple right now. So I'm going to go into Smart Materials. And I think I'm going to start with maybe a dirt. I have two dirts here for some reason. I'm going to pick this more solid looking one on the right. Drag it onto the handle. Although it's put it as like the base layer for the handle, which is not what I want. So I'm going to drag it so it's over the wood rough. And you can see there right away, it's putting dirt all over the handle. And that is giving it, you know, a much more varied and dirty look to it, which is what we're going for. And now for the pitchfork. I believe there is a rust in here. But I think I'm going to just search for that. Yeah. There's a rust. There's also a steel rust surface. But I'm going to try just pulling the rust in and putting it over our steel. That is pretty intense. That is pretty intense, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so maybe we can tone down some of the insanity that is this, the amount of rust here. If we click on, if we come to our rust folder, and click on the mask, the thing to the right, you see this mask is being built up out of several generators. And I'm guessing this mask editor is kind of the mastermind. Yeah. Alright, so we need to play with this. And generally, global balance will just kind of reduce everything if you turn it down. Or increase it if you turn it up. Though, I feel like this is still pretty heavy. Yeah. Okay, texture opacity. Nope, that is not really helping. Curvature opacity. Okay, yeah, a lot of that's coming from our curvature. So I assume if this wasn't so round. But I really don't want it to just be making it more or less see-through. I don't know. I'm thinking abandon this rust. Maybe I'll try this steel surface rust material. Or rust surface. See what that does. Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm not crazy about that either. Okay. Well, I don't think these smart materials are really helping right now. So I'm going to go find the dumb materials. Going to just take some rust coarse. Put it on. That will, of course, completely cover it in rust. But now I'm going to go into our smart masks and see if basically we can make our own smart material that's maybe a little more smart in this case. So what happens if I use this surface rust filter on this? That did very little, if anything. I think there's like, yeah, there's like a little, there's a little bit of it. Can we turn this up? Global balance 1. Okay. Uh, seems to be drawing like odd attention to that UV seam there. Not crazy about that. Are these textures? Is there a triplanar on? Triplanar on? Is that going to help there? Okay, yes, that does help there. But now that's quite severe, really. Okay, well if I turn this texture up, actually, this seems to be kind of a subtraction. Maybe I want to turn the global balance down now that... Okay, I turn it down and it all goes away. What about here? Yeah, that's probably pretty fine. I'm okay with that. What was the default material or setting here on texture 2? Because if I play with this, am I going to get some more rust here, maybe? No. No more rust. Okay. Alright, that's fine. So, what we could do now is maybe we want to duplicate this layer, remove this mask, and I might just duplicate this layer again. And we're going to try some other masks. Like what about just rust? What's the plain old rust mask gonna do? Oh wait, I just put that on the inactive one. That is life right there. Well, if I turn that off, what's that really adding? So we're getting that. Okay. Well, that's all right. It doesn't seem to be doing anything really too bad, or is it drawing? It seems to really like down there. Though actually, I'm just noticing. I think our noise modifier must have pushed some of our geometry through itself down there. Yep. I think that's what it did. Okay. So we're going to need to take a look at that in our FBX later. Either reduce the noise or adjust the geometry so it doesn't get pushed around like that down there. It's not that noticeable though. I'm gonna keep texturing on for now. Maybe I'll try Dirt Dusty on the other one. I think that should give us a really light coating, perhaps. Like, what does that do? Yeah, that's giving us this really light sort of speckling of dust. So, it's pretty rusty now, right? Yeah, it's pretty rusty. I wonder, I kind of want to put the dirt material on the pitchfork now. Because, I mean, it shouldn't just be rusty, it should be, like, dirty too. Now we've got a rusty, dirty old pitchfork. You can go for a cleaner pitchfork, obviously. I want to go for one that looks pretty used, abused. The one other thing we might want to do that hopefully maybe looks good. Perhaps we could add something to make it look like we put nails there. I believe somewhere there is like a... No, I don't want like a screw brush, but there is this nail brush under tools. And you're going to need to create a standard layer for this, I believe. I believe it needs a standard layer. And if I come to the settings, I think, like, how big is this gonna be? That's pretty big, but okay. Maybe I want more like 2. Alright, what if I put it like on our UV seam? Yeah, okay. I don't think you want to do that. But, yeah. So I'm gonna just put like some of these on here. On the sides. Just like that. And I'm thinking if we then pull that down onto our layer, and we put that under all the rust and the dirt, all the rust and the dirt will pile up on top of them. So now, anyone who looks closely at this is gonna see that it's got these screws. Well, not screws, but like these nails on it. They are quite hard to see. It is rather dirty. We could like raise it so it's maybe got less rust. Or no rust. Maybe they're just dirty. So they stand out just a bit more. But yeah, I think that is pretty good. We could play around here, try to spice it up all day, but at the end of the day, it really is just a pitchfork. So I think this is probably good enough. And we are going to, I guess one is fix this weird little error here that I'm definitely sure is caused by the noise modifier or the displace modifier using that cloud noise texture we had on. But I think in the next video we'll fix this, and then we will export and get this into Unreal Engine. Maybe get some LODs set up. Maybe we'll make our own. Maybe we'll use Unreal's automatic LOD generation. I don't know. But either way, we will get this in game. Maybe I'll make like a socket or something and actually let the default Unreal mannequin run around with it in his hand so we can see that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think I'm going to do that. So that'll be the next episode. So we'll get to that when we get to it.